See, this is what it means to have Black economics, right? Like we create a space for us that allow people to meet like-minded people, do business together, form relationships that or healthy relationships that they end up inviting that person to be a part of their wedding, or probably was in their wedding, as you said. So, and this is what I mean, creating stuff on our own terms. This is what true wealth looks like when we're able to pour into each other. It's not, health is wealth, relationships is wealth, money is wealth, physical, mental, spiritual, and all this feeds into all those buckets for me from these experiences you create and for our community. So I love to hear stories like this, and just love to see it. I'm thinking, you know, we definitely gonna have to do some flashback and throwback Thursdays to that first event for sure. But now, as I see you advance, you curating more events. Blanket Sounds. So about time this episode released, Blanket Sounds is today on September. What's the date? September 8th. But this episode is gonna be released later, so don't go out to Blanket Sounds today. But there'll probably be some more Blanket Sounds. How did Blanket Sounds come to be?
Yeah. So again, as I think about the myriad of experiences that I was fortunate to have that I wanted folks to have. One of those was actually from DC, Jazz in the Garden. Um, when I lived in DC, I did like 3 stints in DC. That was my favorite thing to do because I love being outdoors. I love live music, and I love having just space to connect with people. You ain't got to buy anything if you don't want to. It's accessible. It's free. And like there's so many different types of people who you can meet or engage and interact with that maybe aren't a part of your daily life or your normal circles. Because like, right, like I think that we all have so many components that make us who we are. And for me, a big component is being like hella pro Black. Like I'm just like blackity black, black, black. I love Black folks. I love them across the board, across the world. Like, I love being Black.
You like, I'm rooting for everybody who's Black.
Everybody that's Black, like across the board, unashamed, unabashedly, like across the board. Sometimes people are like, "Are you?" I love being Black American. Like I love experiencing other Black cultures. Like I just love it across the board. But another part of me is like, I love people. I think people are innately good. I've spent a lot of my life in different countries and different communities. And I find it so beautiful. Like, I think there's a duality. You can both be very, very pro Black and also very, very pro humanity across the board.
Right.
And so, what I really enjoyed about Jazz in the Garden is just this like incredible, diverse space where you can just be in your little circle. You can expand your circle, meet other people. There's no like pretense about it. It was just a beautiful way to spend a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
But obviously, that's like a Smithsonian program. Like that, they have a lot of money to make that happen. Um, so for the longest time, I've been like, man, I want to create something that is accessible, that welcomes like everyone across communities. I was like, it has to be free. Like it has to be free. There's just like you can't do something like that and it has a ticket price. Like, because you want people to bring their kids, you want them to bring their love, like their friends, their neighbors. And you add a ticket price, like that just some people can't afford it. And I think
Yeah.
all people deserve access to arts. Like we all deserve access to being outdoors, to arts, to community and to feeling like you belong in a space. Like we all deserve to feel like we belong. And there are certain communities who historically and very present day don't necessarily have those. And so I'm thinking about, how do we continue to create spaces for all but especially invite out those communities who historically and presently, because sometimes people be like, historically, but today is different. No, today's not different. Presently, there are communities and groups of people who still feel excluded from certain
Right.
spaces. So I'm like, how do you design with them in mind, but welcome all? So
Yeah.
blanket sounds, I finally just had the space. Last year, I left my full time job because I just didn't want to do it no more. And well, it's space, and like I'm a very, very fiscally responsible person. Uh,
Back. Yeah.
and that's unfortunately one of the positive and negative side effects of like growing up poor. Is you like, all right, I ain't trying to be poor no more. So I'm always thinking about, okay, what this money gonna look like? And for so long, this is a separate conversation, but I felt like very much tied, like my success or my identity or my worth was very much tied to like how much I was succeeding or excelling professionally, how much money I was making. Um, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I make a lot of money. I've done all the things. Like I've been a US diplomat. I've worked for literally some of the best companies in the world. I I lead teams, like I do all these things and I make all this money and it doesn't make me any happier.
Mm.
So,
That,
uh,
you
yeah.
know, going down that rabbit hole with you, like I've seen, and I think at the start of COVID, for some people, that's where that reset happened, when the whole world had to pause, and then your priority shifted, and the new priority became toilet paper and what was the other thing that was running off the shelf?
Wa-
Uh,
toilet paper, toilet paper was it.
the
It was
toilet
water
paper and
at some
water became the new priorities for everybody, right? And it was no longer about the job, about how much money you make. It was toilet paper and water. It was a priority, right? Everybody.
yeah.
I think when we came out of that funk, some of us came out of the funk with a new realization that, what am I doing? Like, is this fulfilling me? Is this making me happy? And then started to reprioritize, reshift some things that we put into value places, and maybe we put it there because of childhood traumas, or we were told this was the way, and we
Mhm.
held on to that very dearly and suppressed all the other things that brought us joy.
Yep.
But that's what I mean, I've been sitting with that too, right? Like, all right, what really brings me joy? Like, all right, like you, I'm like, I've been successful. I've been doing this. I've been doing that. Like, what do I want to do? And that's how this podcast kind of started, because like it's something that I suppressed for a while. Just like when I was out there helping the youth, I was like, a lot of them, you know, I wanted Black young people to live life on their terms, but I had all these programming dollars that I was trying to get them into. But what I realized is they couldn't be what they couldn't see, because like I was like, hey, you could do this, and you said you love this. This will take you there. Now I'm gonna stick with this rapper thing. I don't see too many people that look like me doing that, so I'm gonna stick to this rapping, this sports, or whatever
Mhm.
was told to them or they believed was the way to success, right? Uh, and so I knew I had to start, interviewing people like show this. So I'm glad that you're mentioning this. And in that same breath, I think I've started to see a migration of Black people to Mexico. Like there's a few of y'all down there, and y'all doing y'all thing.
Like, yeah, people, I didn't realize it before, like before I worked there and I moved for work. So I lived and worked in Mexico. And then I meet folks who are like, yeah, I live here now. I'm like, oh, what you doing here? Living? Oh, um, and yeah, it really, like was beautiful to see, like despite the chaos of the pandemic and like the amount of really tragic things that happened, the people who lost their lives. Um, it was beautiful on one side to see that people started to realize that there's more to their life um, than work or what society had like dictated as what the pathways to success and what your life should look like.
Hmm. Yeah.
And yeah, seeing folks be like, yeah, I can move here and live the life that I want to live a life that's at ease, live a life where maybe like I'm not constantly facing racism. Not like, I'm going to be very clear. I think white supremacy and colonization has touched every part of this world. And so there's nowhere you're going to go where it's like completely safe as someone who looks like us. But I do think that there are ways in which you can structure and live your life and places you can go
Hmm.
where it's not to the same degree. Um,
Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing around the world, because I get to speak to people around the world. It's like, you know, they didn't realize what they were sitting with in the U.S. until they moved out of the U.S. And then the experience to, for a level of degree, the racism still exists, but that I don't have to holistically fear every single moment of my life being unalive, whether it be stopped by the police or just interactions. That experience is not always present in other countries.
not, I I've lived in Mexico, Thailand, South Africa. I don't know. I can't remember if it's anywhere else out the country. And then I've visited and spent plenty of time, like months on end, in many other countries. My experience have been like overseas, you are often American first, and then you're Black.
Hmm.
And that grants you a certain privilege that you don't get at home.
Hmm.
Um, and it's sometimes it feels like icky to say, but then on the other hand, you're like, this is my life that I have to live. And like, I don't want to spend every day fighting. I don't want to spend every day like climbing an uphill battle to equality that we know will never be given to us in America. We have to fight for every piece of the pie, everything. Um, and honestly, if I think about the type of work that I do with SD Melanin and Blanket Sounds, it's all centered in joy because I know that so much of our life is struggle, whether we
Mm.
invite it or not. It comes to us. It
Yeah.
finds us. It's intentionally put on us. We have to fight every day, whether we realize it or not. In a lot of ways, and I am in the ministry of joy because I think that has been critical to our survival. Like if we didn't have comedic breaks, joy breaks,
Hmm.
the burden or the weight um, feels just so heavy sometimes. And it doesn't matter your socioeconomic position in this country. Like people love to be like, oh, well, like this isn't a problem for the people that make X amount of money. And I'm like, that's not how white supremacy works. that's not how, that's not how
Like that at all.
it doesn't work like that at all. Um, it,
It's sad thing about it, it affected everybody. It's even affected us in the Black community. Because
yes,
I remember I was reading white supremacy culture, and then I was going through and I was studying it, and I started looking at like all the things that they labeled that they use to structure white supremacy. Like oh, snap, I do that, I do that, I do that. Oh my gosh, I need to fix myself. I need to unlearn some things.
and that is like that is the hardest part. I think that's the hardest part of being like aware. It's because you recognize that it's not just them, it's you. You perpetrate many of those same stereotypes because I read somewhere, I can't remember who said it, but it was like we were all outside when the rain came down. Like, we were all out, like, we've all digested it. We've
Mm-hmm.
all digested it. We we've we've been taught the same harmful stereotypes about ourselves, about our
Mm-hmm.
brothers, about our fathers, about our mothers, as everyone else. And so I think about it like this, like, if I came from a very Black family that was very loving, um, and I know intimately the challenges they went through, and I can still be somewhere and be like, "Ooh, that looked dangerous." And I'm like, "Why is this dangerous, Loren?" I'm like, "Oh, because it's a Black boy who looked
Mm-hmm.
like what they told me danger looks like." And I gotta be like, "All right, that's a problem. Okay, all right."
Yeah.
If I when I hear, like, you go somewhere and you're like, "Oh, why are they being so loud? They being ghetto," and I'm like, "Well, what actually are they doing wrong?" You think about it and you're like, "Nothing. They're just existing." Like, our existence has been criminalized. Our existence has been demonized so much so that we believe it in ourselves, even though we exist in this way and we know we're not doing shit wrong. Um, and there is so much unlearning we have to do. So when I meet people who don't look like me and they're like, "I'm not racist. There isn't a racist bone in my body." Like, I'm just like, "Oh, we don't even need to have this conversation." It's like, if I have had lived experiences that contradict racist stereotypes and I still have to unlearn and unpack, ain't no way. Ain't no way in you have ingested and digested the same rhetoric that I have, the same teachings, the same shit on TV, the same bullshit you hear from politicians about certain communities and statistics and shit like that. No.
Trust me. And some of those conversations are always hard and difficult to have, especially when it's with your white peers. And you're like, oh no, Bob, I'm not calling you a racist, Bob. I'm saying that thing that you did is racist, and I know we want to do better, right, Bob? So if that thing you did is racist, can we could change that, right? So I'm not trying to put you as like, oh, you're this way and you can't change. I'm saying the thing you did. So let's not do that thing.
And you know what? I think, so kudos to you and people like you who have the patience for that. I don't even have the patience for that no more. Like, I'm just like, I don't want to spend my life teaching white folks to not oppress me. Like, I've done that. Yep. It's constant. I just want to be around people who aren't going to impress me. Uh, like literally, because you have to spend so much time like coddling people and be like, no, no, you're not a bad person. I'm not saying you're a bad person. I'm just saying when you said that was a nigga baby, uh, black tar baby, that wasn't a good thing to say, Bob. Like, I just I'm just so tired. I'm just so tired because it's so much like I'm just like, look, if I recognize that there are like that work needs to be done.
Yeah.
uh, I totally recognize it, and I'm like, please, thank you, Jesus, for the people who have the patience to do it. Because Bob just got to get out my face. Bob got to get out my face right now. That's it.
Same time, we need you to curate spaces like this so that we can go like fill our cup back up because I can't serve on an empty cup like that. Like I can't they can't I can't have all my energy depleted and not have no place to go fill up.
Then you're about to be barking at Bob.
And you know they're gonna get me out of there. As soon as I start barking at Bob, they're like, oh, see, I told you he was what he was. See?
I always was a little scared of him. Yeah, so that is why I love creating these spaces for just freeness and joy. Because I'm like, you don't know what people are dealing with. We know the type of, you know, things that we face every day because of our race. And then you have just life. You have everything else that happens in your world.
But,
And I'm like, I feel grateful to be able to provide and curate spaces that replenish
but,
and refill people's cups. And I feel blessed to do that with SD Melanin. I feel blessed to do that with Blanket Sounds,
now
especially.
is Blanket Sounds SD Melanin sub event, or is it going to be its own thing? Like, are you
Blanket
gonna have all these sub events under SD Melanin now since you creating all this stuff?
Blanket Sounds is its own unique brand
Uh-huh.
that was produced in partnership with SD Melanin.
Okay.
But it's its own entity, um, and it expands like our desire and my desire to create spaces for joy, replenishment, and belonging um,
Uh-huh.
to all.
I
Um,
love that. Okay. All right. So I'm looking
yeah.
forward.
And like you can bring your babies, you can bring your grandparents. That's what I love so much actually about Blanket Sounds. Like I love
Uh-huh.
SD Melanin. I love like a good turn up, a little social, a little two step. Um, but as someone who again, like I'm one of five. So like, and
Uh-huh.
my dad's sister has five kids. My mom is one of six. They all have hella kids. So I just grew up with like
Uh-huh.
tons of cousins and tons of family and tons of spaces that were multi-generational. Um, and so I love being able to create spaces that like everyone can really pull up to.
Yeah.
Uh, you can bring your kids, you can bring what you want. Like
You bring your
you don't
dominoes, you bring your spades
Yes,
cards,
you can
whatever
bring
you want to
your
bring.
steak, your Unos, you can bring your sandwiches. Like it's very much like I also I'm sometimes frustrated with spaces that are like, yeah, you can come and it's free, but don't bring nothing. Buy all of our expensive things. It's like, no, I want people to be able to like come as they are, bring all the things that they need. If they want other stuff, we'll have it
But,
there for them.
but
But yeah, I just want people to have safe spaces to belong.
love
Um,
that. Love
yeah,
that. So let's start to wrap up like this. 'Cause I feel like I could talk to you all day. Although I don't do the Joe Rogan type podcast. um, what's next for for Miss Loren? What's next with SD Melanin? Like it sounds. Give us the rundown. What's next? What can
yeah.
we what can we
So
expect?
I will say that again in this space where I am unlearning the tying of my identity to my professional success or work. I'm also learning how to be in the moment.
Uh,
Um, and so right now, what's next is that I don't know. I mean, big picture, I have ideas, maybe, but I'm also like, we're still in blanket sounds. Like there's a show today.
That's what's next. There's a show today.
So today, 5 p.m. We're still, we still curate monthly experiences for SD Melanin. I think
Right.
big picture, we'll continue to grow in the festival and large
Mhm.
like concert space. So Blanket Sound, we serve about 500 to 600 guests every month. SD Melanin, we serve about 500 to 600 guests every month. So that's like, 1,000 to 1,200 people that we're touching
Mhm.
physically every single month. Um, and we want to grow that. I want to expand it. I want to continue to bring forth, high level, well produced experiences within the festival and concert space. But I also, and I don't like, I feel like this is like controversial and it's very anti what people deem appropriate for something that's successful. Um, I also think about like, what if I never did it again? And like,
Uh-huh.
that would be okay too. Um, I could sit and feeling like, it doesn't have to last forever.
That
Um,
you did a thing. You gave a blueprint, and now if somebody else wants that,
Yeah,
they have a blueprint in
a
which they
blueprint.
can.
And that is honestly, I think what's next that I'm most excited about is to be able to have said like, oh, I can help people. Like you want to like people want to reach out to me and talk to me. I'm always open. I'm
Mm,
always like, I mean, first I need you to have like understand what you want to talk to me about. Please don't just please don't be like, can I just pick your brain? Please be very specific. Like, please have direction. But yeah, like I plan to start offering like free, um, professional development um
that's beautiful.
courses for Gen Z and folks who maybe don't have anyone who's going to be like, because like I feel like in the corporate America, in a lot of like professional and government spaces, like
Hmm.
a lot of the rules are unwritten,
Yeah,
um and you need a mentor or someone who you trust to tell you, or you'll just make blunders that could be really,
career ending or career devastating.
yeah. And I want to share, like I want to just be like, hey, I have this knowledge in my head. I want to give it out around like, how to produce something like what we do. I want to share that out because I don't need to be the only person doing this. And I
Hmm.
love that there are way more folks curating uh, today than there were when I first started.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I mean, I am I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I'm working on that. So there will be other blanket sounds. Like we're already working on this on winter programming. But I just want to, and I'm already working on, festivals for SD Melanin. But I'm
Uh,
just trying to live in a space in which I give myself the opportunity to say, hey,
mhm,
if you feel like this no longer is filling your cup, um,
mhm,
or there's another direction that you want to go in, or if you just want to sit in a period of rest
mhm,
for a while. 'Cause I
yeah.
ain't got no kids, so I've afforded myself the opportunity.
You got plenty of opportunities right now. Let me tell you,
I
as somebody who has a
yeah.
kid, take this
So
time for yourself.
yeah, so I'm like, I might want to sit back on a 6-month sabbatical where I don't work and so I'm trying to give myself the space to be like, there are obviously things I want to do next, but it also is okay if I decide I'm just gonna read some books for the next few months and nothing's next.
But to quote the young lady from the Nap Ministry, rest is restorative and
Yeah.
revolutionary.
Yes. I
Mm.
love that you follow the Nap Ministry.
Nap Ministry is everything.
I'm like, I need to follow her.
Look, Nap Ministry is everything. Once I heard that, and then I started looking, I was like, dang, this is a thing right here. Like, I need to incorporate this in my life.
Yes, yes. What I'm working on next really is not feeling guilty about rest.
But and I think that would heal 25% of our trauma in the Black community. Not feeling guilty about rest. Especially
People
for our Black women. Like y'all do so much
so
and
much.
don't know the real meaning of rest, and then don't know what it looks like to have healthy boundaries for rest. And then when somebody has healthy boundaries for rest and tries to incorporate that, you look at that as a bad thing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I look at my own life and like the ways in which I've looked at friends or, intimate partners and like judged them for having boundaries around rest and work. And I used to be like, oh, you're not like, they're not hustling hard enough. Like,
But,
they could be the VP right now, or they
but
could do this. And then I literally quit my job last year. And I have a friend, I used to be a consultant and a global marketing director, um, two like very big roles. Which, if when I think about it, had again a lot of like how I felt about myself was like, oh, I'm an important person. I have this important job, and it pays this, and I get access to these people. And I had friends who were like, nah, like they were successful in their own right, like literally a lawyer and someone who works for NASA. And they'd be like, no, I'm not trying to do that. I'm trying to go to work and go home and like live my life. I used to be like, wow, like, dang, they just don't hustle for real. Like, I don't get it. And and today I'm looking at them like, oh, y'all had the recipe from the beginning. Like
Look,
I was the dummy.
look,
Because I'm looking at my homegirl who's a consultant, high level, never has free time to do anything, always working. And
look,
I'm like, oh, that used to be me for a very, very, very long time.
look, stuck in the matrix.
Stuck in the matrix.
Stuck in the matrix. And then once you realize that you're stuck in the matrix, and then you got the choice to take the blue pill or the red pill, you're like, okay, all right. Look,
Yep.
this is a real talk right here. So that should be our next episode. We have to talk about that, unpack that.
It's been a year and almost a half journey of like unpacking and divesting from the matrix for me.
But we're gonna unpack that on another. We're gonna get you back for the conversation. Me and you to unpack that, because that's a whole hour long conversation. I guarantee you.
It is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Loren Cobb, SD Melanin, Blanket Sounds. Give people the links. Where can they find you? Website links, social media, all that stuff.
Yeah, so you can find us, excuse me, on social, our website is sdmelanin.com. We're on all the social platforms as SD Melanin. Blanket Sounds, the website is blanketsounds with an s.org. Excuse me, and you can find us at Blanket Sounds on Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, make sure you go on there, follow her. I follow her. I'm gonna be down there today. By the time y'all hear this episode, it's gonna be past that, so don't go down there now. But she got the winter experiences. By the time this episode go on the website, you might find the winter experiences or not. We don't know. But I put that disclaimer just so that I'm not messing up her rest schedule, whatever that's gonna look like for her.
I have some really great partners at Blanket Sounds and a great team that works with me for SD Melanin. So it's very unlikely that it will be silent. I might just be silent.
Well, I wish that for you more, whatever your heart desires, whether it be rest or more joyful experiences. I appreciate you, sis, and everything you're doing. Thanks for coming on the pod to bless us. And I hope we get you again someday to unpack how we can all get to that level of where you at in life.
I'm still working, but no, thank you so much for the invitation. I really appreciate it. It's been such a fun conversation. It's been fun chatting with you. So thank you.
Thank you. And for all our listeners, if you like this episode, click the link, subscribe, like, leave a comment, share this episode with a friend, tell a friend to tell a friend. If you got value from this episode and if you enjoy it and share everything that Loren's doing out in the community and what we're doing here at Rise Up Nation. Until the next time, peace.